Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the R Squared podcast. My name is Rajat,
And it's your boy Rishman here, partly.
and today we have a packed house here. Today we have David, Yash, and Neal, all previous guests on this podcast. If you want to check out the episode, Yash was no, so Neal was episode 3, Yash was episode 4, David was episode 10. So we won't do a massive introduction for all of them, but yes, thank you guys for coming. How you guys doing? Right, great to hear you guys are doing great.
I didn't know who was gonna go first.
Probably right. Yeah, very
Gotta
enthusiastic
speak
crowd.
volumes, huh?
Very enthusiastic crowd here today. But today we're gonna do a bit of an F1 season preview for 2025. I think all of us are big F1 fans. We've been to a race as well. I think we went to Austria a few years ago, which was really good. Um, so actually, before we go to the preview for 2025, let's talk a bit about 2024. Obviously, it was a very interesting season. At the beginning, it seemed like Red Bull and Max would take it away easily. And sort of midway through, we had the other teams, mainly McLaren and Lando Norris, coming through, putting up a strong fight, and then Ferrari coming up as well. So let's go with Yash first. Yash, what are your thoughts on how the season panned out?
I think it was a pretty interesting season in the beginning, but then I think as soon as Red Bull took off, I personally felt that it became a bit stagnant. So yeah, kind of wasn't too keen on watching the rest of the races, but halfway through, I think after the summer break, McLaren came in and they did a lot of changes, so they started putting up a good fight. So I think it became exciting. And as a true McLaren fan, I think yeah, I had high hopes for them, and they won. So it was a good season overall.
Okay, nice. So are you a McLaren fan, Lando fan specifically?
Uh,
Or
I would say both McLaren fan
okay,
and Lando fan.
okay. And where did that stem from?
um, I think from Ayrton Senna. So when Senna used to drive for McLaren, I think yeah, back then I was watching a
Yeah,
lot of his
Yeah,
videos.
I think Yash was born during that time, so
yeah,
it makes
yeah.
sense.
But no, also because Lewis used to be at McLaren and they used to win back then, so I think I used to like them. Yeah.
Mm, mm. Yes. Neil, what about you?
Yeah, I must admit, like the Max domination kind of destroyed the excitement about F1 this season, or that's what I thought it was going to be like in the beginning, at least. Red Bull and Max definitely had the fastest car. Sergio Perez also had the fastest car, but was clearly not the fastest driver on the grid. Um, but yeah, as Yash said, very exciting to see McLaren fight at the top where they should be, and Ferrari should also be there. But as Ferrari have been in the last few years, always have their ups and downs. But adding some spice to that, Hamilton announcing that he's moving to Ferrari, I think it's just building up the excitement for the next season. So yeah, overall thoughts. First half pretty boring. Second half very spicy, very fun,
Mhm.
and very nice to see Red Bull not win the constructors because yeah, McLaren definitely deserved that after that second half.
Yeah, absolutely. David, same thoughts. So first half pretty predictable, and then
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think what Neil said about the Perez and Verstappen was just that was baffling because I think what Red Bull finished third in the Constructors' Championship, but
Hmm.
Max still dominated the drivers' one. So that just shows like how bad Perez was for them. But yeah, I think all in all, I think just the start ruined it because McLaren and Ferrari just went at it in the beginning, and then suddenly out of nowhere, McLaren was like booming. So yeah, and then Lando I
Yeah,
think made a lot of mistakes as well to the end. Otherwise it would have been tighter, I feel, towards the end of the year. But yeah,
yeah. Perez definitely cost Red Bull that title.
yeah, for sure.
yeah, absolutely. And David, I also wanted to ask, you're a big Daniel Ricciardo fan, and obviously,
Damn, wow.
things didn't
I
really
knew this
end
was
up
coming by
well
the start already.
in the season. Yeah, I know you got to get the big questions out early. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on what happened with him?
No, I think I mean it was a long time coming, I feel. I think with Daniel, like Renault was good. When he went to McLaren, there were doubts. Then he won that one race with McLaren, and it looked like everything was gonna go uphill from there. Like things were getting okay. I think it was Imola. He won, dominated, and then suddenly, yeah, after that it was just all like 10th, 15th, 18th. Then McLaren got rid of him halfway through the race, and then yeah, after that there's no coming back. I think he was a bit lucky that Red Bull gave him a chance with the second team for a bit, but even over there he was outperformed by Yuki. So then after that it was like, yeah, his time has come. Um, right now it looks like he's just touring America and chilling, living life. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he is. He is. Actually, before we go on to 2025, Yash, one last question to you on McLaren, because David just mentioned obviously Danny Rick didn't do that well at McLaren, and then he got swiftly replaced by Oscar, who's doing really, really well. And so, firstly, what are your thoughts on that? And then also, towards the end of the season, also there was a battle between Lando and Oscar as well, which probably you could say if maybe they let Oscar um, be more of a, I guess, a team player towards Lando, maybe Lando could have maybe won the title. So, what are your thoughts on how, firstly, the Ricardo situation, and then how the second half of the season played in terms of their battle?
Yeah, I think Ricardo going away was a bit unfortunate. He was a very nice character on the grid itself. So I think even though his racing ability declined over the years, but his presence on the grid was quite influential. I think all the drivers used to say that, and even watching him was quite pleasant. Um, so I think it was sad to see him go, but he did. I would say he did play a part in getting McLaren to where they are now. So especially that win kind of lifted the motivation of the team. So even though he didn't contribute enough, but I would say the overall development over the years was quite good. Um, and then, yeah, I think the Oscar situation is kind of a given because it was his first season. Um, and I think in the beginning, you do have to play the team player part. But overall, if he does want to do well, I think he has to put a stand for himself. So we'll see what this season holds. I think he'll be a bit more aggressive. So yeah, hoping for that.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. Actually, yeah, one last question to Neil as well. You talked a bit about Perez not doing really well. Why do you think that was? Obviously, he and Max both had the same car, but as in, it wasn't even a small difference in
Yeah,
performance. It was a massive difference.
I don't know. I mean, if you look at when Perez joined Red Bull, he was on the back of winning, I think the Sakira Grand Prix with what are they called? Feel
Racing
the
Point.
a Racing Point. Yeah, the team names keep changing a lot, and that was an impressive victory. If you remember, he spun out in lap one and it was 19th, and came back to win that. I think it was also George Russell's first race in Mercedes. But yeah, when he joined Red Bull, I thought, damn, Red Bull have definitely got their money's worth. Like, experienced driver, someone who can win in a non-competitive car. And I honestly thought he was going to compete with Max, but right from the beginning, Max definitely showed his dominance. That might have played in Perez's head a little bit, but first season he did really well, finished second, I think. But then I think he had a few poor performances, and because you're in that Red Bull seat, you have so much expectation to perform, to do well. I don't know the dynamics of how the teams work, but obviously Max is driver number one, so he gets favored a little bit more than Perez would. The car as well, if it's designed for one driver more than it's designed for the other, might affect how the second driver is driving. Uh, and yeah, I think he got into a slump and never managed to get out of it. And yeah, that was the end.
Actually, on that point you raised, Neil, on like the cars, like from news articles and just like interviews that you see online, especially from other drivers, they say that like Max really likes his car on the edge, so it's like literally on the limit. Like it's very
Yeah,
shaky, and he likes doing that because he goes into the corners like on high speed or whatnot, and like very high speeds and brakes later and all that kind of stuff. So he likes it very on the edge, and that
yeah,
probably makes him faster and puts more pressure on the other driver as well. And they're not as confident with the car then, because you can clearly see like with a slower car, Red Bull Max still managed to win even towards the end. So
mm,
he definitely likes that sort of erratic car because he knows he can go quick.
yeah. Fair
So
enough. That
would
could have
you
played a part.
would you say that the teams are setting the cars up for Max? So both cars are kind of similar, but the new drivers that come in aren't able to handle
Yeah.
I
this.
feel like they have to kind of, yeah, they have to drive what Max wants to drive. If you
Yeah,
think about like Albon as well, when he was there, he's obviously a good driver, but never got used to the car. Pierre Gasly came in, same story. Came in, he
same
performed well,
story.
but I feel like he was a little bit more experienced than Albon and Gasly, so he
Yeah.
might have learned how to drive the car a little bit more than they would have been able to. But yeah,
So would you say
eventually,
that's the curse? Is that the curse?
yeah, it's also strange to me, at least, how uh, Yuki didn't get that seat, even though he's been performing really well in the AlphaTauri or the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls. I wonder what they're called this year.
Mhm.
Yeah, Liam Lawson, I haven't really followed much of his journey in F1, but
Yeah.
y-
When he stepped in for
yeah,
Danny Rick
we'll see
last
how
year,
he performs.
he did quite well. But just a point on this one, I added in there, like Danny Rick is the only teammate to actually beat Max. So just saying,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say like
How
everyone
old was
was.
Max then?
I think it was his rookie season or second season,
16,
Yeah,
17.
17, 18 probably.
Crazy.
yeah. I was gonna say I think the last person who actually did well with Max alongside was Danny Rick, which is quite ironic.
But
Um, Everyone
yeah,
else has struggled since.
I think
How
Danny Rick
many?
saw early enough that he was not going to be number one driver and didn't
Hmm.
want to take that.
Yeah, it was after that. Well, at least from Drive to Survive, I've learned it was after that crash in was it
Baku.
Baku that
Yeah,
Yeah,
it all started.
How many years was Danny Rick there with Max? Was it just one?
I think it was 2 or 3.
yeah,
Right. Okay.
2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 2024 done. Now, before we go on to 2025, Neil, you have a trivia question for us and the viewers, right?
yeah. I've got a few questions, just a couple. Wanted to ask you guys, test your F1 knowledge. I'll ask the questions now. We'll reveal the answers at the end. But while we're doing this, you guys can text me your answers, and I'll reveal what everyone's answers are at the end. Uh, First question: when was the first Formula One World Championship race? The year. Bonus points if you get the month and the day right. But I'll
Month and
ask,
the day.
yeah, I'll ask when and where. If no one gets it
Cool.
right, then closest answer wins.
Okay, where as in, are we doing country or city?
Yeah, country is fine.
Country is fine. Okay, cool. Right. Okay, everyone, what's up, Neil? And then you reveal the answers at the end, right?
I'll reveal them at the end.
All right, cool. And so now, 2025, a lot of interesting things have happened over this winter break. I think this season has been is I think it's been a long time since there have been this many rookies on the grid. A lot of actually drivers which I've never heard of before, so it should be quite interesting to see the mix between experience and young and sort of young talent. So I thought we'll go through it team by team. We'll start from sort of bottom and go all the way to the top and sort of talk about what the chances are and how each team is looking. So let's start with Sauber. They have Nico Hulkenberg and Gabriel Bortoleto. So Hulkenberg obviously is quite experienced, been in the grid for many years. Bortoleto, this is his first season. I think, if I'm not wrong, he won the F2 season last year.
It's Formula 3.
Oh, he won the F3 season last year. So
Oh
he's jumped.
wow!
Is he jumped
So
from
that's a big
F3
jump.
to F1?
Mm. I don't know if he won it last year, but it says
Oh,
in
okay.
oh yeah, he did last year. It's reigning Formula 3 F1 F thingy champion, Formula
Oh
3
wow.
champion. So yeah.
Okay, great. So that should be interesting. What do you guys think? Firstly, on the team, because it's I think sort of a new team, or at least under new management, and then this driver pairing as well.
So,
David. Okay, no, Neil. Sorry,
oh
you
no,
were.
I was just gonna say this is the same team that was Alfa Romeo, wasn't it?
Mm,
It's
mm,
just a rebrand. I
Hmm.
feel like Saba used to be there quite a few years ago, and now they're back. But it's always been the same team.
yeah.
Um, yeah. No, go on, David.
No, I was gonna say I think yeah I don't know much about Motoletto. I think just when you were talking about it, just looked into him. So yeah, really nothing. Just know he's like people were quite hyped because he's a Brazilian. So I think he's the first Brazilian in a while, if I'm not mistaken, since what's his name, Massa, probably. Yeah. So that was interesting. But Nico, I love Nico Hulkenberg. I think if is it him or is it someone? I think it's him that he's never got a podium or something, right? Or never won a race. I don't know, one of those stats, and he's been in F1 for so long.
Yeah, I think
Oh
he's
yeah,
the longest driver to race in F1 without
Is it
winning
podium
a
or win? I
race.
don't know. Maybe it's
Yeah,
win. Maybe
I
it's
think
win.
it's
I don't
win.
know.
Yeah,
I think he's been second or third at some point, but he's not
Okay.
got first ever.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, no, that makes sense. But yeah, so that's why. So it'll be interesting. But again, I don't think that's happening anytime soon because it doesn't seem like they're winning. Unless he goes to that new team that they're forming or something, right? They said they will announce some Audi or something. I don't know.
yeah. I think next year, 2026, I think Audi is coming through, right?
Oh,
Mm.
okay. No, yeah, I don't know. But no, so yeah, not much. Will be interesting to see them. Good to see
Hmm.
that rookie so he can show himself, prove himself. And as you said, Rhoda, I think it's like, yeah, if he's not gone to F2, then it's a straight jump from F3 as well, which would
Hmm.
be quite interesting. Maybe last driver that done that is probably Max, who never went to any of the Formula Championships, right? He came
Yeah,
straight into F1.
yeah.
So
Actually,
yeah.
I just also googled him as well. So actually, he was F3 champion 2023, and then he won F2 last year. So he has won both
Oh, okay,
back
fair.
to back, and then yeah, so it's coming this year. So I mean, that's good. I guess he's there on merit, which is good for him. Um, and so that yeah, that should be interesting to see that pairing. So next up we have Williams. I think this is a really exciting team. Got Sainz and Albon. Yash, what were your thoughts on this team pairing?
I think, yeah, I just want to say, firstly, hats off to Sainz for taking up the position after he left Ferrari. So I think he has quite a lot of work to do at Williams. I think the team was not really performing well for quite a few years, but it seems like after testing, he actually achieved the fastest lap of the testing season. So it seems like the car is doing really well, but we don't know if they'll be able to be up there. Maybe midfield somewhere, but I think they'll be able to do well. But the pairing will be quite interesting because Alex has always been first driver in the team, but it seems like Sainz has more experience now, so it'll be a good dynamic to see how they play along.
Yeah, I think for this one, actually, more than the driver, I'm interested about their team principal because to be doing a lot of changes. He's the Mercedes guy, right? He was a Mercedes, I
Yeah,
think,
James
chief
Valls.
engineer or something. Yeah, and now he's gone there running the show at Williams, and he's yeah done a good job. I mean, he's got rid of like the paid drivers they used to have that always come in, so like they always underperformed compared to one. And I think Albon put in quite a good showing last year, so he finished top 10 quite a few times. So yeah, with two strong drivers like Sainz and Albon fighting in the like midfield, I think it'll put them up there. Definitely, I think higher than the teams below them.
I
So
think
yeah.
first time in a few years as well, they've got two non-rookies, so good
Oh.
experience. Signs really like Signs as a driver, so exciting to see how he can perform in the Williams.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it's a very strong pairing. I also heard, I think James Walls was saying, and I think the whole project is they're not really focusing too much on this year. I think their main goal is 2025. I mean, obviously they did well in the testing. I don't know whether it was other teams sandbagging or not, but
Mm.
yeah, but I think it's a very, very, very strong pairing. Next up, we go with. So I think Neil, as you said, a lot of team name changes for this group, but I think it's called Racing Bulls this year. So
All right, is it without the Visa Cash App?
I think so. That's what at least it said on the F1 website.
Interesting.
So they have Sonoda and the new guy Isaac Hajar. So as you said, obviously Sonoda didn't get the nod for Red Bull. But what are your thoughts on this pairing?
I don't know too much about Hadjar. Where has he come
I think
from?
he's French actually. Um, if
Is
I
he in F2?
Yeah, he was in F2. I think he was second last season.
Okay.
Yeah, he finished actually second to Gabriel Bortoleto last season in
Hmm.
F2. And now, yeah, now they've signed him to Racing Bulls.
I think it's always been like Red Bull's strategy for their second team, if you may, having rookies come in, test them in F1, and it's I guess, a step for all the Red Bull Academy drivers to get into F1. All the drivers, even Sainz, Albon, Max, they've all been there. Don't know too much about Hadjar, but Tsunoda, I think he, in my opinion, deserved the Red Bull seat. But I don't know if there's anything to do with Honda staying with Racing Bulls and Tsunoda being Japanese and them wanting to keep that pairing that had anything to do with him staying. But yeah, he's definitely a little bit more chill than he was in his first few years. It's very feisty, Tsunoda, but I think he can do well. If they have a decent car, I feel like he can be in the midfield, maybe even get in the high points.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think everyone thinks that Tsunoda sort of deserved to get that Red Bull seat, and you're right. I think probably the Honda factor was there as to why he stayed. Um, so I think I feel like Sonoda is maybe a bit inexperienced, but I think he's done enough. Is this his third year? I don't
I
quite
think
remember.
so.
Third year,
Probably fourth, right? I feel like he's
fourth.
been
Probably
around a
fourth,
while.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe fourth. So I think it'll be good to see. Probably his first one of his first years as being sort of the lead driver as well.
I
So I
mean,
think
thinking about how when Danny Rick and Tsunoda were teammates, like Tsunoda was outperforming Danny Rick like consistently, so it shows something. Like he's definitely kept his place in F1 for the right reasons. So yeah, maybe deserved the Red Bull seat, but it's up for debate.
mhm. Yep, yep.
Yeah, I think Bobby was saying earlier as well, right? Maybe it's good he doesn't go to the Red Bull seat right now because it seems like everyone that goes into that, like with Max there, is
Just
always
drops out.
yeah, exactly. So maybe it's a little bit of they want to keep him because he's performing this other car, and then
What
if
are
Red
you?
Bull were to lose Max or something, then maybe he'd move because I mean I don't know. We can get to that later, but there was all that drama from last season about Newey, Max's dad, Christian Horner, all that stuff. But we can get to that later.
I mean, there's been a lot of times where the second Red Bull driver has also lost his place and has gone to this Racing Bulls or AlphaTauri, or maybe
Or
Sonoda can
perhaps,
be promoted mid-season. Who knows?
yeah, that's what I was thinking, because maybe they're giving Lawson a chance right now, but then mid-season, if he doesn't perform, they can switch easily. So that could be a possibility.
Yeah, yeah. Be very interesting to see. So next up we have Haas, which has Ocon and Bierman. So I think another similar pairing to Sauber, where it's someone with a lot of experience compared to a rookie as well. I think Bierman has done a couple of practice or qualifying. I think he may have done maybe a race or two. I don't remember, but I guess this is his
Yeah,
first full season.
he
I
Um,
think
was
he raced three
Ferrari.
Ferrari,
races.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah, I think a Sainz had his was appendix or something. Leclerc was off sick. One of the Ferrari drivers was away last season, and I think Behrman, yeah, stepped in. Yeah,
I think he was in 3 Grand Prix last year. He did 3
Oh,
races. Yeah,
yeah.
and I think in his first race he was in top 10, if I'm not wrong.
Ah,
So
okay.
he did quite well.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Because I think another thing that I was seeing is that what a lot of team principals are saying is that the rookies are now doing so well in sort of their first time in F1, where before it would take a bit of time for these guys to make the jump. But like a lot of these rookies are coming in, first race, and they're getting like top 10, and it's so competitive, and it's so, as in the quality is so high, that it doesn't even feel like they're
The
rookies.
rookies. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. Um,
I
guys, so
think
it's,
Bierman finished 7th in his first F1 race
wow,
debut.
yeah, yeah. There we go, there we go. And then also Ocon was in Alpine, and sort of, I mean, I feel like he basically got kicked out
yeah,
because I think there's this one really bad crash in Monaco, where he
yeah.
crashed in Gasly. Um, so I know how do you guys feel he'll do in Haas? Because Haas is also like a bit of a weird team where I know they have so many changes all the time.
yeah, it's one of those teams that was surviving by the thread. When you watch Drive to Survive and Gunther Steiner's on the phone to Gene Haas every race, so it's like complaining, or House just wants results, but there's nothing Steiner could have done. But also, I feel like that time they had a good pairing with Magnussen and what's his name?
Hulkenberg.
Not Hulkenberg. I'm forgetting his name. The guy who crashed.
Oh, Grosjean.
Grosjean.
Grosjean. Yeah. I feel like them two with Steiner, if they were in any other team, I feel like that would be a solid setup. Like they would do well. But I don't know if it's funds or what the issues are with Haas, but yeah, I don't know
They
if
have
they would
a
be fighting in the midfield this season.
they have a new principal as well. I think is it Ayoi Kamatsu, the
Yeah.
Japanese engineer. So yeah, there's a lot of changes, but I don't know how they're going to perform.
Yeah, I think they'll do well. On the above Ocon though, it's really weird because Alpine being a French team having two French drivers as well is a like good setup, dream setup. So like the tension between the two must have been really bad for them to
I
decide one
feel
season
like
in to
Gasly
axe it.
and Ocon never got along
Yeah,
from
yeah.
from the
Yeah,
beginning, so
yeah. I think from testing, I was seeing that Haas weren't performing too well. Like Ocon kept returning to the pits with side pods missing, bodywork missing. So it seems like they do have a bit of work to do before Australia.
Yep. And so, speaking of Gasly, let's move on to the next team, which is Alpine. So it's another interesting pairing of experience versus a rookie. So it's Gasly and Jack Duhan. So I mean, that's if I'm not so Duhan, his dad was five-time MotoGP world champion actually,
oh, interesting.
Interesting.
from Australia. So yeah, I mean, clearly, I guess motor racing runs in the blood there. But I mean, Alpine also is a strong team. I think they have a lot of potential there, and Gasly is really really good as well. David, what are your thoughts on this team and the pairing as well?
Yeah, I think Gasly always I think he's been an like underrated driver. Like that Red Bull stint sort of get put him in bad light. But ever since he went back to the second team, the Sauber back then, he's been really good. I remember he even won a race. I think it was their first race ever that they won. And even after that, he put on some good performances, getting podiums and stuff. So I think, yeah, Gasly as a driver has just been very underrated in a car way below his potential in the last few years. So it'll be interesting. Although I don't have much faith in Alpine now, so I don't feel like it's actually gonna do much for him. So we'll see. Jack Doohan, nothing again. What these, as you were saying, like so many rookies. This is another third rookie now that you mentioned. This, yeah, not really heard of before. Other than Formula One, I don't really keep up with the other Formula series, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Crazy that he's Australian though. And I feel like there's a lot
Mm,
of Australians now, a lot of French drivers and English drivers as well.
mm.
Bit of
Yeah.
a nationality competition going there in F1 right now.
I think Alpine had a lot of restructuring last season. They had a lot of people that were removed. The technical director was removed. And there was a fun fact I read that Dave Greenwood, who used to be the racing engineer of Kimi Raikkonen, has joined Alpine as racing director. So a lot of changes happening in that team.
Oh, wow.
Do they still use their own engine? I'm assuming they use the Renault engine, right?
Renault
Or did they
engines,
move? Because
yes.
I remember Renault saying they're going to stop making their engines or something. So I don't know. Is that still true, or do they still use Renault engines? I don't know.
I think they still use Renault engines.
They use Renault engines. Oh, okay, fair.
Um,
Great.
Mm.
Nice. And then the next one is Aston Martin, our beloved Mr. Stroll and
Hmm.
Mr. Alonso. I think there's lots to say on this. Who wants to take it away?
Ah,
Maybe I can go.
yeah, go for it.
There's quite a bit to talk about. I mean, Adrian Newey moving from Red Bull to Aston Martin. That's probably the big headline. Lance Stroll having an indefinite contract. I don't know if it is on paper, but off paper, definitely. um, and Alonso, I feel like he's just there for the vibes now, but he's still a solid performer. He's still really good, and I rate him highly. But I don't know about Lance Stroll. I don't think he deserves to be there for since maybe the last 2 years. Like he's just there because his dad owns the team, and I yeah, it's not on merit. Definitely not on merit. There's so many talented drivers out there who can definitely replace him, but it's not going to happen. Which I guess puts not necessarily pressure on Lance, but it just puts him in that limelight. Everyone looks at him slightly differently.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you have like I mean, not putting him down because he's an amazing driver and was and is still an amazing driver. But like you have someone who's 40 years old joining the team and beating you 2 seasons in a row. Someone that has retired what twice.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I think that should give you the nod that yeah. Although you know he has these moments of brilliance every now and then. Like he'll have a good race, good thingy. I remember when he broke his hand and still performed well at the
yeah,
start of the season stuff. And he's determined. And don't get me wrong there, but maybe yeah as you said it should go. There's a lot more deserving drivers coming through the ranks who should probably have that seat.
yeah. I mean, I think a few seasons ago when he was at Racing Point with Perez, he did so well. There was, I think, a race where Hamilton won his seventh title in Turkey, if I'm not wrong. It was a wet race, but Lance qualified first. He led that race for majority, but Hamilton, being Hamilton, won that race. Um, that season, Racing Point were definitely up there, and that's when I thought Stroll is actually a really good driver. But I haven't seen that since, like, from him. I mean, when Aston Martin were doing well, when was it? 2 seasons ago, when Alonso was finishing on the podium, consecutive races. Stroll was also up there. He was definitely giving the team points.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I don't know if it's to do with the car, but maybe with Newey coming in, he might start performing again. Maybe they are sandbagging. Who knows? Maybe they're the fastest car on the grid.
I think
We'll
the
find out.
testing they were just doing eighth and ninth fastest actually. So maybe they're hiding something that Nui has done.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
I agree. I mean, you don't pay Newey the big bucks for nothing. If the like rumored stuff is correct on the news, he's earning more than both their drivers, so he's definitely thought of as the prized possession in that team more than the drivers, which is rare to see in all the F1 teams. So yeah,
Speaking about Newey, it's interesting to see how Red Bull will do without him because he was with them since the beginning, like since they moved from Jordan to Red Bull.
yeah, I think since Horner came in and like they
Yeah,
started that winning streak under Vettel and stuff, he's been there since. So yeah,
Yeah, I think the one thing about Aston Martin, I feel like Lawrence Stroll is so motivated and driven to win. I mean, the fact that, as you said, the fact that he got new and he's paying him so much, I think this shows like how driven he is. I think regardless of, I think the issue with Lance Stroll is that he's obviously really good, but he's not consistent enough. Um, but I think that's the reason why Alonso has also stayed there. I think because he really sees a vision in the team. I don't think Alonso would be wasting his time
okay,
in
yeah.
a team that doesn't like
yeah,
really.
I don't really agree. Maybe, but I feel like Alonso is now at this point he's there for the like he loves it too much, so he just wants to be in a
Mm.
team where he's still racing. I
Oh,
feel like,
fair.
of
Yeah,
course, yes, he still wants to win, and they all want to win, all the drivers, and they'll compete. But I feel like he's just there because he just loves racing too much,
that's
like through
racing.
that. Yeah.
Mm.
But I think that part about Lawrence that contradicts himself when we talk about Lance. Like as you said, he really wants to win, build a winning team. I guess so far he's probably realized that the car is not up to the potential to win. That's why he's kept it. But like, think about the Red Bull situation with Perez. Like, if Aston Martin do get a car this season that's good, and Alonso's performing but Stroll is not, then the question comes: will they get rid of Stroll so they can go for a championship or not? And that's where will come into the play, like whether he really wants to win or he really just wants his son to win.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I actually would love to see that position and see what happens.
Do you
I
think
think.
Nui would put in some pressure there? Because if Nui designs a good enough car that is winning, like it's capable of winning, but then the driver is limiting it. So
Definitely. Yeah, I think definitely not just from me, but yeah, all round there will be pressure then on Stroll, like loads, and on both of yeah, both Lance and his dad.
Yeah, very, very exciting. Um, let's move on to now we're getting to the business end of this team. So let's go to Merck. They finished fourth in the constructors last year. So obviously now Russell will now be driver number one, and Antonelli has come in. as a rookie. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Russell now because I think before Hamilton had the biggest burden, but now that Russell is taking over, I think it's basically his to lead the team. Yash, what do you think about? Do you think Russell will be able to get up to the challenge?
I think definitely, yeah. I think whilst he was at Merck last year, he was in Lewis's shadow. So being in the shadow, he wanted to prove himself, but he was always undoubtedly the second driver in the team. But now he's stepped up, so he has to prove himself. So I think he's gonna go all out, and we did see it after mid-season. He kept winning more than Lewis last year, so I think he's definitely put up the fight, especially towards Max. And then Merck themselves, I think they had the third fastest lap in testing, and they did the most mileage in testing. So I think they probably have done a lot of work because yeah, they can't be finishing third anymore. They need to be up there. And obviously the rookie joining. So again, I think George has to put up a good figure as first driver. So yeah, let's see where they go.
And have you seen much of Antonelli? I have been personally, but I don't know if there'll be a bit of like side by side racing because that usually what happens at these winning teams. If both drivers are doing really well, and then there's always a bit of animosity as there was, especially in Merck. I think Merck has a history of that with firstly Hamilton and Rosberg,
Hmm.
and then there was a bit with Hamilton and Bottas, but not that much. And then Russell and Hamilton also had a few here and there. So what do you think? Do you think Antonelli will be able to sort of give a fight to Russell?
I think because it's his first season, they might just limit him to doing that. But obviously, if he's performing really well, then I don't see why not. But because it's his first season in, I think Russell will be given preference. But that's just what I think. Maybe they might do something different. But yeah, the interesting thing was Bottas returned to Merck. So
Yes,
Mm.
yes, actually.
especially after the crash he had with Russell, I think I was quite keen to see what that dynamic would be.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I actually forgot about that. Now that you brought it up, um, I was listening to an interview that Bottas did, and he was talking about his time at Mercedes, because I think he didn't really get up to the level of Hamilton, like over sort of that period of 3 years or whatever it was. And one of the reasons he was saying was that actually Merck always just gave him a 1 year contract each time, so he didn't really have that feeling of being settled in to the team. I think there's no doubt that Merck always
Right. Yeah.
favored Hamilton. Like it was
Yeah.
pretty obvious to see from the outside. So he didn't really feel settled into the team, and I think also, I guess when you're on a 1 year contract, I think maybe the team sort of hides stuff from you, like
You
regarding the car, because in case you go to another team and tell them stuff.
agreed.
So I mean, I don't know what the issue, what the dynamics will be with Antonelli and Russell, well, in terms of
M-
contracts.
Maybe if Antonelli doesn't work out, Bottas will come back.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I doubt it. I think they'll definitely give Anthony the whole season because I think, as you said, like, not heard much of him racing, but he's always been touted as a sort of prodigy. So apparently he does have the potential, and he's like one of the youngest to ever come into F1. I think he's
He's
only
18.
like
Yeah,
just
which
about
is
18,
crazy.
just on 18 exactly. So I think, irregardless, they're not gonna, even if he's not performing midway through the season, get rid of an 18-year-old to bring like the 30-something Bottas to play. So I think they'll definitely give him the whole season to yeah try. But it'll be
Yeah.
interesting. I think it'll be less pressure on him if the car isn't as up like isn't up there fighting for like the podiums and stuff. There'll be less pressure because then all eyes won't really be on them that much.
On the topic of Mac and reserve drivers, what's happened with Mick Schumacher? Anyone know?
I
Good
think he was
question.
No
replaced
idea
by
actually.
Bottas, right? I
Yeah, but why?
I don't know why. Yeah.
I would
Is
have
he going to
thought, like,
race somewhere?
yeah.
Let's see. Where is Mick Schumacher?
Good question. He's in the endurance championship with Alpine.
Okay, so he is
Yeah,
racing, but not in F1.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think he left
Um,
F1. Yeah.
but
Oh
something
well.
that did shock me was Merck being such a strong team. They opted to go with a rookie who had never raced in F1 before. So I think that was quite interesting because usually they put the rookie in the Williams team, for example, and then shift him over to Merck. But this was a complete different approach, so I don't know why. But
I think it's because they tried, if I'm not mistaken. Remember them saying so they tried to get signs, and the thing was to try and put Antonelli in the Williams seat, but I think it never transpired. I don't know. I think it was Sainz asking for too long, which was like a 3-year contract or something, which they didn't want. And then also I think team principal of Williams, he'd rather go with an experienced driver. So he wanted to, and they ended up going for Sainz. But I think yeah, Mercedes did try to get Sainz into the seat, but weren't able to.
I see.
Because
Okay.
actually, that's a good point. Because George might feel a bit hard done there because he was left at Williams for
Yeah. So
quite a long time. If they had brought
Yeah,
him earlier, he would have actually had a championship potential car to race in. So, but they left him in Williams for like 3 years before they brought him to Mark. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So next, let's go to the Red Bulls. So I think as we talked about at the beginning, Max basically carried the team throughout the whole season, and they still finished third, which is
yeah,
quite crazy. So Max, and then you also mentioned that sort of Lawson has come on to replace him. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just going to be tough for Lawson, to be honest. I think he's going to be super under pressure just to keep up with Max. I think Max, just regardless of the car, I think he's just on another level, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I think I'm just interested also to see how the Red Bull car will just do overall. Um, Neil, any thoughts on that?
yeah. I'm very curious to see where Red Bull start, basically, with the new, without Adrian Newey, what the new car looks like, how Max is going to adapt to a different car, how Lawson's going to adapt to that same car. Max being Max, I know for a fact like he's definitely the top driver on the grid at the moment. Uh, yeah, he's definitely gonna make do with it, but very interesting to see how he competes with the likes of Norris, Piastri, and the Ferraris.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of the Ferraris, we've got probably the biggest news, or the biggest driver change at least, is Hamilton now coming to Ferrari with Leclerc. Thing with Ferrari now, they always have a history of being unreliable, but to be fair, they still got second in the constructors
Hmm.
last year. I mean, David, what do you think about that pairing? Because I think it's two drivers who will definitely be wanting to win the championship. I think there'll be a lot of battles on the track between them.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like, just firstly, I'm hoping they have a really quick car because, like, with a car that's even somewhat out there, Hamilton can do it, and to see him do it in a Ferrari would be amazing. Leclerc as well, same amazing driver. I feel like with the battles they've already had, and just seeing how Charles and Hamilton fight in general, it's going to be quite clean. They'll probably go at it, but it will still be quite a clean race on the track between the two of them. I think they're quite fair drivers when it comes to that. None of them too rash. I still feel Hamilton will have the edge just because Leclerc, as good as a driver he is, I think his consistency has not been there, and that's clear from that. I think season before last, where he made quite a few mistakes and was like he used to be really hard on himself, and that's when he lost out to Max, even though the Red Bulls were like really quick that season. But yeah, I'm just hoping for Ferrari have a quick car, and then that will be just, yeah, amazing to see them back on top. See Hamilton get his eighth championship probably. I never thought we'd be saying that we want to see Hamilton win after the whole dominance he had, but it's gotten to that now where yeah, it'd be amazing to actually see Hamilton win
It
again.
would be nice to see Hamilton win an eighth and in a Ferrari. It's just icing on the cake. But also, speaking about Hamilton, like this season, after he announced he's going to Ferrari after the season end, it's not like he's taken a holiday either. He's been very excited. He's been at the Ferrari headquarters. He seems very keen, and it just seems like a new life in him. Uh, After the 2021 title where Max won, it felt like the life was sucked out of Hamilton. Rightly so. I mean, he was hard done by, but it's nice to see Hamilton smiling again and very excited. It's like a kid in a candy store. and as he said, like everyone's a Ferrari fan. So yeah, a
He
dream
did
move for him.
he did set the second fastest lap in testing, so he was out there killing it. But hopefully that remains.
Yeah, he looks hungry. So let's see.
Yeah, it's good to see him back.
Yash, I like you did. I like that you did your research on testing.
I
Well,
was,
you know all the
I was
details
gonna
about
say Yash is like
testing.
Mr. Data right here, coming in with all the timings, all the info for all the cars.
I've
Wow.
I've got it open right in front of me.
Oh. Yeah. So Yash, I'll ask the last one to you. Being a McLaren fan, now Piastri and Norris again, two drivers that I think for sure definitely going to be gunning to win the championship. I think we mentioned at the beginning where towards the end of last season they had a lot of battles together, and then there was sort of an agreement towards the end to sort of give Lando a priority to hopefully help him win the title. But I think now they're both starting from square one, and I think the car will be very good as well. So I mean, how do you envision this season going for McLaren?
I think it's going to be quite aggressive one because obviously they were the favorites towards the end of last year. The cars were performing really well, the drivers were performing really well. But now I feel like because they're at the top, the dynamic switches to not winning as a team but winning as a driver. So both drivers want to win, and Lando is obviously hungry, whereas Oscar was kind of put down as second team driver last season. So he's going to want to step up as well. And also in testing, Oscar was performing better than Lando through and through. He set fastest lap times. He did more miles as well. So maybe he is more hungry. But Lando, having won his first ever podium, well, first position last year at Miami, I think he's seen the wins, so he's gonna be out there. But they do seem like the favorites, I think, going into the season. That's what I think. Apart from Ferrari and Hamilton, I think McLaren's are the favorites.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you mentioned there about sort of their relationship because I think we see this with every team and every driver pairing. When the team is not really in contention for winning, the drivers are all friendly
Yeah,
and everything is great. And at the moment, both drivers have a great chance to win, and the
Yeah,
relationship breaks down
I
because then
won-
suddenly
I
everyone's for
wonder.
themselves.
I wonder if there's another Hamilton Rosberg situation brewing.
Yeah, yeah,
Great.
exactly.
Yeah, I honestly I still view Max's favorite. It's hard to say that after 3 seasons on the trot and just knowing what Red Bull have done over the last few years in general. But yeah, it'll be good to see if the other teams are more competitive. I feel like to beat Max, the McLarens and stuff would have to have a lot faster car. I
yeah,
still feel like Hamilton is, at least from the recent showings that we've seen, Hamilton is the only one, especially after that 21 season, that Hamilton is the only one that's on par with Max. They're the only ones that have showed that they're on a different level. So it'll be good for someone else to prove themselves. Because as much as like Leclerc, Lando, and stuff have shown in a few races, that consistency over a whole season has not been shown by anyone else.
that is true. Yeah, so maybe Hamilton can fight with him again
Yeah,
this
if it's good.
season.
But it'll be good to see another driver do it because Hamilton, as good
Yeah,
as he is, he's gone in a few years. So the Max needs a competitor.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point you mentioned because I think obviously there are a lot of good drivers on the grid, but I think the one thing that sets Hamilton and Max apart from everyone else is consistency. Like
Yeah.
they barely make mistakes. So even though you can say that they always had the best car, the fastest car, even when Hamilton was dominating for so many years, he almost never put a foot wrong. Whereas if you see those times when Leclerc, even Vettel at that time in Ferrari, um, when they had chances to win or were leading races, they either crashed out or made some sort of mistake which lost them a winning opportunity. Whereas people like Max and Lewis don't really make mistakes
Yeah,
on
and
that
and when the
aspect.
pressure gets going as well, they put in insane stuff. Like
Mm.
Max last year, I remember like he came from when he took the engine penalties and all that from 15 to finish like quite high up to keep himself in the race. Even in that season, he won the first place against Lewis. Like he was put down 15th or 20th or something in that race he was starting, and he came second behind Lewis to keep him in it for the championship. All that, and then Lewis as well when they were doing badly against Ferrari, like that lap he put in at Singapore, the laps he did towards the end of that 21 season where he had to win the races. Like when the pressure gets on, it feels like they turn it on even more, so they make less mistakes the more pressure there is, which is insane.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Great. I mean, that's all the teams covered. I think there's a lot of exciting things to look forward to this season. You know, I know Neil has another trivia question up front, but before that, I just want to ask Rishi, are you still there?
Yes, yes, yes. I'm here.
Ah, yes, 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 yes.
I've caught
Yes,
up on
any
some anime as well, but I'm here. Yes,
yes,
yes.
any thoughts, Rishi, on
Preparing
everything
for the
that we
next
have
episode.
discussed?
Should
Rishi?
I
we ask
used to. I
Rishi
mean, I
who's
used to. I used to watch Formula One back a while ago, and I used to. My favorite Formula One driver used to be Michael Schumacher, and then
Oh,
Hamilton after that. After that, no one. I
fair
prefer
so
enough.
WRC and Dakar Rally.
so in terms of team, which team would you support, or were you supporting back then?
Uh, Hamilton was in McLaren.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice,
it was
good
McLaren
choice.
for quite a while.
Now he supports M-Pesa for Scania.
That's fascinating.
Sports betting company. Let's go.
Actually, speaking about racing, Rishi, you did mention earlier you used to your dad you used to do like a lot of rally racing. You follow that? Do you watch that? Do you go for races?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he used to do a lot of rallying back in the day. For those who want to know what type of rallying, it's more like WRC, so World Rally Championships, where you go on the dirt roads and stuff. I did ask him just prior to this some statistics and info on what he was using. And one second, I'm getting it up. Yeah, he used to use a Dead Sun 1400 pickup, and then I think in the later years of his rallying, he used a Lancer. He rallied for like a good 4 years. He did crash twice though, rolled
Oh wow.
once on
Oh
each
wow.
crash. But yeah, I mean, we used to go for a lot of rallies, just go and watch rallies. And I think in when I was born, like 5 6 years old, we used to go for route opening drives, which also was quite crazy. So the way you have, think of in F1 when you have the police car, or what is it called?
Safety car.
The that one, safety car.
Police car.
The safety car that comes out in the front. That's like a route opening, but he opens the entire track first. He goes in front of everyone, makes sure the track is good, uh, things are smooth, and if any turning or area segment of the track needs to be changed, that's what the route opener does. So yeah, that's what we used to do. Personally, I used to try and drive a small little toy car back in the day. I did flip with it. Wasn't that nice? It was good. Good fun.
Oh,
Nice.
so that's how you damaged your head. Makes
No,
sense
no,
now.
no, no, no. No, no. I headbutted you if you remember clearly.
Yeah.
Great,
I
great.
mean, in Kenya, there's a lot of motor racing influence and a lot of rallying, especially. Um, when I was a kid, I remember going to one of these motor shows, and Michael Schumacher's Ferrari was there. So I have a photo of me and my cousins sitting on the car,
Oh
of
No
them
wow.
in the
way.
car.
That's so cool.
Um, I'll share it with you guys later. But yeah, um, I think Kenya has a big, especially rally. I think the big influence.
Nice. Yeah. I did have a question for you guys. Like when did you guys get into F1, or how did you get into F1?
Oh, no, mine's very easy. So I think so. My dad used to watch it quite a bit, so I used to see it on and off on the TV, but I was like never really into it. But I think once I came over to your guys' place, Neal and Yash in Sheffield, and it was a race weekend. And I think it was the British Grand Prix, something going on. So we were watching it then, and it looked very interesting. And Neil started his own personal F1 fantasy. He was doing points based on where the drivers' finishes are. So I was quite keen on that and got interested. And then you guys showed me, and this is the important bit here, was the Drive to Survive. So I saw
Mm,
Drive to Survive. We watched one episode there, and then I got home and I was hooked. Completed that season. And ever since I finished that first season, that was when I really got into F1. Just seeing everything behind the teams, like the whole sort of the whole sort of dynamics of like the engineering that goes behind it. Everything has to be like pinpoint accuracy, and it all comes down to them then traveling at like 200-300 miles an hour. It was just yeah, it was amazing to see. So I think the way they did that series really brought me into F1 even more. And then yeah, since then just been watching every race really.
Yes.
I like that answer, and mine is very similar, but only 10% of that story. I got into it from watching my dad watch it. That's it. That's it.
Nice.
That's still good, yeah.
For me, it
Uh,
was mainly Drive to Survive, I think 2018. And then 2019, I was following it a little bit. 2020 is when I was very interested in it. Drive to Survive was big. That was also the year of the pandemic, and we were all deprived of sports. So when everything came back, everyone was excited to watch anything. And yeah, as you said, that's when we started our own fantasy, F1 fantasy, using a Google Sheets document, putting in our predictions, which was a lot of fun. And I think everyone was playing it quite passionately, quite seriously. So since then, I would say I started in maybe 2018, but more so since 2020. It's been something I follow quite a lot.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, for me, I've been watching it for quite a while. Probably not as deeply as I have been over these last like maybe 5 to 7 years. But I vaguely remember watching some Alonso and Schumacher racing when Alonso won his like first world titles, because that was the first time where Schumacher really had someone that was giving him competition, because I think he won five in a row up until that point. And then Alonso came in and won two back to back, and so I sort of vaguely remember watching that. And then used to like watch and follow it on and off, like through the late teens and stuff. But actually, to be honest, I only started really watching it as deeply when I think we all met, because I think it helps when there are other people around you who also watch and follow it as well. Then there's like a topic of discussion, and then you can always discuss it. It makes it easier to like be more interested um, in the sport. So yeah, Yash, what about you?
I think mine's kind of similar to David and Rishi. So my dad used to watch it back in the day when Hamilton was winning. And then it died down after that until Drive to Survive came out. So yeah, I think I started watching Drive to Survive, but I was more interested in the technical aspect of the car, like the aerodynamics and the engine. So I was watching this YouTube channel called Chain Bear, which used to explain all the technical stuff like the differentials, the ground effect, like the DRS system. So I think that led me in. Um, but yeah, now we're hooked.
Indeed, indeed. Actually, before we go again to Neil's trivia, I think we should also maybe talk about the race that we went to in Austria a few years ago. Also, yeah, the first time when he was watching a race sort of live. Do anyone want to one of you want to go ahead and just talk about, I guess, what that experience was like?
Yeah, sure. I mean, 2022, I believe, Austria.
Yes.
Rajat found some tickets online, and everyone immediately said, "Yes, let's do it." And we planned a trip around visiting Austria and going for the Grand Prix. It was none of us knew what to expect. None of us knew how it would be, where we were going to be seated. But we basically got open access. Is it the ground access tickets,
Yeah.
where we could essentially find a place to sit on the ground on any of the straights. So we sat next to the 10-4 corner in the Red Bull Ring. Uh, it was quite far from the track, and I think if anyone does want to go for a race, if you can go for somewhere where you can sit on the stands, because you get a much better view. But I mean, overall experience was great. We saw Carlos Sainz's Ferrari catch fire right in front of us, which was interesting. Yeah, I mean, David, Yash, Rajat, do you guys want to add anything?
I mean, we saw Perez spin off as well in the first
Yeah,
lap.
Yeah,
hit with George Russell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think For me, it was the sound. Like, when we
Yes.
were outside the ring and we could hear the sound being so loud. Like, you can feel it in your chest what this engine is going to do. So I think that was quite exciting, just hearing the cars go around.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think overall as well, it's just the experience. So like we all went to Austria, of course, and we did a weekend there, go about. So I think it's it adds that element of it as well, where we go for the race and we can also do a weekend around it for whatever city that it's happening in.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Rishi, is there? Do you want to go to an F1 race?
I'd rather go to a WRC race.
Where did they happen? Like, which is it mostly in
It's,
Africa?
it's it's many countries across the world. I would want to go for one in Finland. Finland is
Oh,
really good.
Finland.
Yeah, yeah, they have a lot of tarmac races, and then in the winter, if I'm not wrong, I think in Sweden, the snow races are the craziest because of the drifting. You have to
Mm,
have some mad skill for that. So yeah, I would. I'll take you all to
nice.
that.
I'd actually like to go for one of those as well. That sounds really cool.
We would also like to go for the WWE match as well.
WRC and WWE.
Uh,
I think he'll do WWE with his WRC car.
Headbutt the car. Great, great, great. So now let's move on. Neil, you have another trivia question for
I
us, right?
do. It's a Lewis Hamilton question, but it's a
Okay.
three-part question.
wow.
Wow.
So, for everyone out there, which year did Lewis Hamilton make his F1 debut, and where was it, and what position did he finish?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll give
All
you guys
right.
a minute to think. Text me your answers. I'll
So I know
reveal
the
them
year
at the
because
end.
the trivia question I wanted to ask was similar, but I don't know the other two.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I'll text you the answer. Um, Also, then moving on to a bit of a next part as well that we kind of missed out was so there's a couple of rule changes that happened this year. I want to go to our rules correspondent, Mr. Yash. Yash, I heard you've been looking through the regulations very deeply, analyzing the changes that have happened. I think I've had some talks with the FIA as well to discuss these
Indeed.
changes. Can you tell us what has been the outcome of these discussions?
Yeah, so thank you for having me on. This is
Uh,
your rules correspondent coming live.
It was with Massey, wasn't it? Was it Massey? Who's that guy
Yes.
that got sacked?
No,
Yeah, I had
Michael,
some.
no.
No, Michael. So yeah, I spoke with Michael and he said these are the rules that he's implied. And they're quite, some of them are quite interesting, which I did not expect. I think let's start off with the first one being the fastest lap point being removed from 2025. So remember how back in the day, whoever had the fastest lap would get one extra point. But from this
Mm.
season, that rule is going. So even if you do the fastest lap, you're not going to get any points whatsoever, which was quite interesting why they did that. I didn't really understand it, but what are your thoughts?
Oh, that's interesting. I can't see why they removed it. I felt like it. I know maybe a little bit as to what their thinking was. Maybe that the fact that teams used to pit and like do the race just to take away the point if they were against their competitors and stuff. But I feel like that added another element to it because there's always that risk that they had to take for like an extra pit or extra, you know, um, extra pit or like extra pressure on them to do it so that then they might spin out or make a mistake. I feel like that added that extra element to it. So I feel like they should have kept it in. I can't see why they removed it.
Yeah, they should have kept it in, but I think some of the drivers were saying that, say you are leading the championship, but then someone else who's like 17th or 18th would come in and steal that point away from you when they were not in contention. So I
Mm,
think they made this change so that random drivers cannot just come in and pit and take the fastest lap. But I don't know. I don't know
fair.
what exactly was the thought behind that.
Maybe it's that situation where maybe like the rival team or like the rival is so winning, and then they in your team they just tell like the second driver to to take
Yeah,
the fast lap and
Yeah,
then
maybe. And also, I guess they thought maybe it's an unfair advantage now thinking about it for the teams that have sister teams as well, because that adds extra
true.
to this to it. So, like if Red Bull wanted like the, you know, the racing bulls or whatever would try taking a point away if say McLaren were winning and stuff like that, whereas some of the teams don't have that. So
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Um, so I think that's the first rule change coming in, which is a major one. I think it affects a lot of points being awarded. The second one is actually something called the mandatory driver cooling system. I know it sounds a bit extravagant, but whenever the temperature on the track reaches 30 degrees or 31 degrees, the teams have to install a different type of cooling system. Now, this has a knock on effect where the weight of the car will also go up. So they've had to increase the minimum weight of the cars to, I think, 800 kilograms now from 798. But that, I don't know how much it affects teams, but that's just something that's come in.
When you say temperature, is this track temperature or air temperature?
Air temperature, sorry. Yeah, air
Okay.
temperature. So like the hot countries like
Yeah.
Bahrain and Abu
yeah,
Dhabi and
I think that makes sense, and I guess this one's more of a driver safety one. So I agree because I remember last year after Singapore, a lot of the drivers couldn't even stand or something. So
yeah,
like
true.
I remember some drivers having have to be carried out of their car and things like that. So I guess it's a driver safety thing. They're like, no, it has to be mandatory now because all the reason drivers would not do it was because obviously it adds weight, right, which slows down the car, and they are competitive as hell. So they'd rather, if no one's doing it, they'd not do it, even if it's ill effects to their health. So I guess if FIA make it a rule, then all drivers have to do it, irregardless. So there's no question about teams telling that or making that pressure for drivers not to have it to save weight.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that's a big one, especially with the weight of the car going up. And then I think another one relating to that is also the weight of the drivers. So there used to be a minimum, well, cap on what the driver can weigh. It used to be 80 kilos, but now it's 82 kilos for this season. So I think anyone who's heavier than that has to
That's a
reduce weight.
bit unfair though, because like for the shorter drivers like Yuki and stuff, how is it fair that they have to put on weight? Like it might affect their physique, right? So how's I don't get how a weight limit for driver makes sense. The car as a whole, okay. Because like things like Yuki and stuff, they're tiny. Like 82 might be
No,
borderlining
no. So
overweight for them.
I think they don't have to put on weight. So say if they don't meet that, then they put ballast in the car to
They have to
match
weigh
Oh
the
yeah, so it's the
weights
themselves.
and
overall
solve.
car weight.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But then you see for taller drivers like George, obviously he might weigh more, but then he has to lose weight somehow or whatever. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, fair.
So that's one of them kind of links all of those three together. Then another one was implementation of rookie drivers for FP1. So FP1 is the test race before the practice race before the actual Grand Prix. So in previous seasons, they were mandatory 2 races where rookie drivers had to sit in that car for FP1, but now it's up to 4. So that means 4 races over the season, there'll be rookies testing the car at FP1. Yeah, any thoughts on that?
Oh, that's mandatory, is it?
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay.
I guess
Interesting.
it gives
Fair.
them
It, w-
some
it
experience.
yeah, it was mandatory last season as well.
But it was
Yeah,
two
yeah.
Mm,
races, and
Yeah, it
now
was
it's
two
four.
races
mm,
for. Yeah, I guess that's good enough. Teams generally don't do much in FP unless it's a. I think what teams will try to do is do it towards the end of the season when they're not sure, but then that's a risk if they're doing well. Or what they tend to do is probably tracks that they already comfortable with, know the setup, then they'll use it for those ones. So their drivers know. So that's usually tend to go. Yeah.
that just
Yeah,
means like the competition becomes even more intense. I mean, like literally anyone is disposable. Though if you're not testing more rookie drivers, well, they're getting more testing. It's just, I mean, we already see the rookies nowadays are so
Oh
so
yeah,
good.
yeah. So the rookies will put pressure on taking the seat in the
Yeah,
team because people will see that practice and be like, "Oh, like you're doing shit. Why don't
yeah,
the team replace him with a rookie?"
I
yeah,
think that's
exactly.
good in the long run because F1 has always been a really hard sport to break into. But now that more drivers can get the chance, I think they'll make it more competitive and anyone can
Mm,
come in.
yeah,
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 no,
Yeah.
agreed,
interesting.
agreed. But
Um,
I mean, we already spoke about it, right? Like, how many was 5 rookies they have this season? 4 or 5, which is insane. That's like a fourth
Yeah,
of the grid, just rookies.
yeah.
yeah. Um, Yeah, and then I think the final one I have is actually to do with the Monaco Grand Prix. Um, so I think this was tied down to Lewis Hamilton complaining about Monaco's race last year, like there was a red flag or something. So he said Monaco should have compulsory of 2 pit stops, and they have implemented that from this year. So Monaco will have mandatory 2 pit stops, not one but two. And I
Is that?
think that's
Oh,
kind
sorry,
of
good.
justified because it's always like the most boring race. So maybe this will like shuffle things up a bit. Um, but yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean the cars are too big for Monaco. It's no, you can't overtake on that
Mm,
track. It's more like who's gonna make a mistake, and at the caliber of these drivers, you're barely gonna make mistakes. So
Yeah.
it becomes a dull race where
yeah.
qualifying determines the outcome of the race.
I guess
So
then it kind of makes sense. Then I guess it's a bit more of an opportunity to jumble up
Yeah, I mean, it's a
positions.
chance to be more tactical, right? So
Yeah,
teams
yeah,
can try and be like bit early or bit later and see if that goes. But
yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
That's true. I
So I
think
think
that
Lewis was
yeah.
behind pushing for that. So I think it's gone through and they're implementing it now.
I think that's
he's
good.
after he got stuck behind Alonso, I think he's he really wanted that.
Or until Ferrari mess up a pit stop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
Um,
they stole the win from Charles doing that, right? Not near, yeah.
yeah,
But then he won it last year, didn't he?
he won
So
it
all
last year
good.
for the first
yeah.
Yeah,
time.
Correct,
it's all
correct.
good. Finally winning his home championship, broke the curse.
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
yeah, and that's it from your rules correspondent. So
Amazing,
see you
Yash.
guys next year.
Oh, amazing, Yash. I didn't expect you to be that informed, to be honest. So it's a good job.
Yeah, I guess the only thing is we don't know how true it is, so we go
Yeah,
next year.
correct, correct.
We find out none of these rules are there.
Correct,
um,
correct.
but
Yes.
next season will be quite interesting because the entire system is changing, right?
Oh, yeah,
There's
correct.
new rules,
New
new
regulations,
cars.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so we expect you to be up to date, Yash, with all those
I'll
changes.
start now. I'll start now.
Our resident design engineer will be up to date with
Yeah,
the designs.
D.
Yash,
yeah,
we expect
ideally.
some inside information as well, kindly, on these
Yeah.
Who
Sure,
knows?
sure.
Whitby Wood might have a contract with one of the Formula One teams already. They already built a house or something over there, right? Near the Grand
Yeah,
Prix
we
place.
did. What our company designed some pretty high-end flats overlooking Silverstone. So
Wow.
there are, I think, about 10 of them, and your balcony looks at the track. And I think
Insane.
they go for about 10 million pounds each.
Ooh.
And Yash owns one of them guys, so
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Just,
yeah. Exactly, exactly.
um, yeah.
Nice, amazing, cool. That's a great discussion. I think before we end it there, I think we can go to the answers to those questions, Neil.
All right, so the trivia answers. Rishi, I see you aren't very much into F1, but I'm loving your answers, by the way. Starting with the first question, which year did the first ever Formula One World Championship race take place? Um, so I was looking for the year, and I think none of you got it right, unfortunately, but some were very, very close. So the actual answer was May 13th, 1950. David said
ooh.
1952. Yash
Oh.
said 1956. Rajat said 1954. And Rishi said 2002.
Oh god.
Um,
Oh my
and
God.
the second part of that question was, where was this? So David and Yash got it right. This was in the UK. Rajat said
Okay.
Italy, and Rishi said Nigeria.
Wow.
Great.
Great
Hey,
answers.
got to promote the African continent.
We love it. We're here for it. We would love to
Uh,
see somewhere in Africa F1 race. All right, and question number two, the Lewis Hamilton question. Which year, where, and what position did Lewis Hamilton finish on his F1 debut? So, David, you said 2007, Australia, and second. Yash said 2007, Germany, and fifth. Rishi said 2009, Australia, and third. Rajat said 2007, Italy, and seventh. So 3 of you got the year right. It was indeed 2007. 2 of you got the location right. David and Rishi, you both said Australia. That was correct. And only one person got the position right. Our F1, a massive F1 fan, Rishi, said third, and that was
Oh
correct.
wow!
Let's go. Let's go. And you people say you watch F1 over here. Useless.
Wow, amazing.
Nice. Rishi, you got 2 out of 3 on that one.
Yeah,
Wow.
amazing.
Well done, man. Well done. Now they have to have a
Damn,
race in
so,
Nigeria
excuse
for
me.
that.
Overall, I won, eh? Just saying.
Overall, yeah, David got the first one. He got 2 out of 2 on the first one, and 2 out of 3 on the second one. Yes, David.
Amazing, yeah. So my question for the second one was actually going to be, in Lewis's first season, by how many points did he lose the F1 title?
Was it 1?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
It was 1. So I get a point. I win. Nice.
Yeah, it's fixed.
I'm
It's
also
fixed.
a
What's
winner.
this match fixing? Great, nice. Thank you for that, Neil. Those are some good questions
No worries.
actually. Actually, I had to think a lot for those. But yeah, I think we can end it there. It's been a good long session. And yeah, thank you guys for coming on. Hope everyone who listened enjoyed this season preview. Maybe we can do well, depending on how well this podcast goes at the end of the season, we can do a recap on 2025.
Mid-season,
Mid-season,
end of
yeah.
season,
Yeah.
Mid-season, end of season.
post-race,
Yeah,
pre-race.
Yeah, we can start the whole F1 show.
Yeah.
With this group. But yeah, nice. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thank you for
Yeah.
having
Thanks
us.
for
Thanks
having
for having
us.
us again.
And yes, thank everyone for listening. If you liked it, like, share, subscribe, comment, and